Have you ever wondered what it would be like to launch a passion-based business? Not only launch it, but have some success with it? Well, you might be thinking, Chris, people are doing that all the time. And yeah, I guess you're kind of right. But what makes my guest today that much more interesting is that he did it in a country far different than his own. And for all intents and purposes, he did it in a place where, like, culturally speaking, it could be considered almost upside down in terms of values, in terms of ways of life, in terms of ways of doing business even. So I think this guest today, his story is really, really inspirational. He's going to provide a lot of insights and a lot of tips to aspiring entrepreneurs or even entrepreneurs who are going about their business but aren't satisfied with the results. So really quickly, let me introduce you to him. His name is Jared Campion, and he has this business. It's called Dream Drive. It's a Tokyo-based business where he basically produces and manufactures campervans. And you might be thinking kind of like those 1960s VW style sort of things. Well, yes and no. He's doing it with a more modern twist. As I always say, of course, I encourage you to check out the full-length audio version of the conversation that I had with Jared. I mean, this video compilation, we're touching on some of the points within our conversation, but there's so much more. So I encourage everybody to check that out. You can do so wherever you find your podcast. Just do that search for Life as a ... All right, well, why don't we launch into this conversation? Now, I thought it might be interesting to kind of launch into this with some added perspective. You know, what is this whole campervan movement lifestyle all about? So I have a clip here of Jared speaking a little bit about the history and where it's at right now.
Even if you look at Volkswagen, Campervan, like the iconic like campervans they did, that came about after the war, after World War II. British officer in Germany, they were looking for what to do with these big factories, and he wanted to customize a little bed kit into one of those buses, and then from there it became this huge movement in the 60s. But yeah, they've been making these things for years, and and they've been super popular. So yeah, it's not everybody has had such an opportunity to have one. But now it's becoming more commonplace and more people are finding ways to do it, even if it's just putting a bed in the back of a car. There's lots of ways to expensive and cheap to experience that lifestyle. So yeah.
All right, well, here's a clip right out of the book of Entrepreneurship 101. And this chapter is about catering your product or service to the needs of the market. Now, I did mention that Jared is running his business internationally, in fact, within Tokyo, Japan. And of course, I mean, culturally speaking, things are a lot different, you know, versus say within Europe, within North America, when we're speaking camper vans or caravans. So here's a clip of Jared explaining some of those differences.
Generally, Japan's a place which has got narrow, tight streets. So they're not looking to do these massive rigs that you'll see in America. Also, there's onsen or bathhouses all over. So it doesn't. There's not as much need to have a bathroom inside the vehicle. Also, a lot of the vehicles they produce here aren't so tall, especially when it comes to van. So there's not much standing room inside, which isn't actually a big problem when people actually use the van. But when people are choosing one, they like to imagine themselves standing up. So we're kind of manufacturing with the products we've got here. But Japan makes a lot of great vehicles, if it's Toyotas or Fusos, Isuzus, Nissans, vans and trucks. So there's lots of great platforms to build upon.
I don't know about you, but the word that I keep coming back to is compact. You know, the market itself, you know, Japan itself is a fairly compact place, geographically speaking, and as such, you know, the vehicles are too, and that extends into this world of camper vans. So yeah, you kind of have to fit the product into the market, so it's going to be meeting those needs. And here's a little bit more insight on that as well.
The vehicles are different. They're very compact. They're very much about making the most of a small space by changing or transforming the space inside, from eating to sleeping to dining to different kind of dining are the same, but you know, or workstation nowadays. More people doing work on the road. So there's a lot of flexibility in the designs here to make the most of a tiny space. So yeah, they're pretty fun.
Okay, well, this next clip represents another chapter out of that book of entrepreneurship. And this one is pertaining to passion. I mean, it's way, way easier to get involved, to really sustain your motivation, sustain your own levels of energy towards a business when you have a passion for it. So actually, in Jared's case, he had a business before that. He was also working within an industry that just, despite having a lot of success within it, it was actually IT recruiting. He just didn't have the passion for it. So this is him speaking about transitioning from that stage of recruiting, having a recruiting-based company, into what he's doing right now.
It made me realize, like, well, if you focus on something and take it super seriously, you can make it a success.
Yeah.
And also I realized, well, I thought at that point, well, you can also raise money for stuff too. And I thought, like, well, what if I really, like, what is it that I really want to do? Like, forget about like recruitment or what I've done. Recruitment's just something I basically did because I was in Japan and I was gifted for it. But like, I grew up with campervans. I loved campervans from a young age, and I really felt like Japan would be a great place to build a campervan business. So I thought, well, I may as well just do exactly what I want to do for once and see how I go. I think I had the idea for a long time. It was in the back of my mind. I was talking about it with people, and I couldn't shake it. I really think having an idea that you think is interesting and will make it, and you believe in it, and you talk about it, and no one can talk you out of it. Or they try and you can. They're not talking you out of it because you've got good comebacks.
You talk it into existence, don't you?
Okay, well, next up is a clip of, the next stage, basically, of going from having a passion for an idea to actually launching it, market entry and staging that growth along the way. And here's a clip of Jared talking about that.
I started really small. I made a website and tested the concept, and then I made the first one of my family vehicle. And then I raised a bit of money based on the ideas I had and I took in investment from people I worked with in the past or who knew me. And then each thing led to another thing, and it got bigger and bigger, and we had real customers starting to take our vehicles out and trying them, people from overseas renting them. So it's all like little steps.
As any entrepreneur will tell you, I mean, that journey, as exciting as it can be, is fraught with a lot of challenge and difficulty along the way. And here's one clip of Jared explaining a big fork in the road for Dream Drive, his company, and how it actually turned out to be this major pivot, which is launched in this direction, which has kind of delivered a whole new level of success for his operations.
Shock was when Corona hit and we lost our rental business, and I made a decision just to keep going, and that was a really stupid decision in a way. Like, it was a big risk because we didn't have a rental business anymore, but I had built a small like manufacturing business. We could sell for rental cars, and we made a commitment, screw it, let's just become a manufacturer, design something. We had the resources then. So it's like we were starting again. But luckily people loved the concept. We had a different enough product. And it kind of led to us being where we're at now.
In considering the stereotypical view of a founder's journey within any business, it kind of goes like this, right? Founder establishes operations. Founder goes through some trials and tribulations. Founder finds success. Founder becomes rich, successful, and lives a happy life. The end. Well, yeah, I don't know if they all go that way. And in fact, the ones that are lucky enough to achieve a certain level of success, there's this added component towards the end, or even the middle for a lot of people, which is giving back, which is impacting other people's lives in a positive way. And I think that's such a critical component for this. One, as far as a driver or motivation for getting into it in the first place, but then also two, as a point of recognition along the way that, you can really drive a lot of success as an entrepreneur for the value that you are providing to others. And here's a clip of Jared explaining that.
We've got like 25, we're going to be 30 in a few weeks. People, like, it's like a lot of lives and people like who I love, who are like really great craftsmen and really skilled, like gifted people. So it's like I want them to get better lives and things to get better too. And I think that's like the big thing I really want to do in Japan moving forward, is really change the lives of the ordinary craftsmen who work for us, and give them a better life. Because I think that's something that's kind of missing in Japan, is the respect and the love for the craftsmen who are so gifted. They can kind of get exploited a lot.
Yeah, I really love the sentiment within that last clip. You don't need to be a multi-billionaire and use that time when you've achieved ultra levels of success to start giving back. No, I mean, you can be building that within your business right out of the gate and continue that on, throughout the lifetime of your business, whatever the size it may be. Anyhow, I think we are drawing to a close here in terms of this video, but the conversation continues. I mean, go check out Life As A wherever you access your podcast. Just do that search for Life As A ... and you can continue this conversation. Jared shares so much more as far as stories go. We even get into like the rise of autonomous vehicles and the EV market, how that's changing and how that might have an impact on his business. Plus, he shares way more as far as insight and wisdom on just running a business. So yeah, go check that out. And until next time, I definitely encourage you to check out some of these other videos that we have on YouTube. And if you do, here's the big ask. I'd really, really appreciate a like or subscribe. It's the only way that this YouTube platform knows that the content matters. So yeah, I think it deserves, a bit of recognition there. I think it has the power to affect people's lives in a positive way, set people up for careers for the next 30, 40 years of their lives. So like, subscribe, would really appreciate that. Well, as you know, I do put these episodes out weekly. So yeah, be on the lookout for the next one. Until then, we'll see you later.